Hello and welcome to another short video, and in this video we'll be looking at the chat box. You can see that a couple of players have joined us just to demonstrate a couple of things. So we saw that the chat box is here in an earlier video. It's also the dice roller, and this is the heart of what goes on within your game. Now the first thing is you may not like the chat box here, so you can move it. If you right click over it, select this unlock position icon, you can now move the chat box to wherever you like. You can also resize it, and if you've made a mistake or you don't like it, then you can just simply right click and select the revert to position. But we, for the demonstration purposes here, will just put it in the center of the screen. We can then right click and we can lock it if we want, so that it won't get accidentally moved around. So the first thing is that in the bottom line here, this is our actual input box. So whatever we input into this line will then get conveyed or broadcast to all of the players. And if this was a player that was typing this in, the chat would also go to all of the players, and as well as the DM. So whatever is typed in there will go to everybody. We can also, if we want, type in a particular language using this drop-down box here. If we use the drop-down and select Elvish, now when we type in, we will be typing in the Elvish font. And you can see here that this is what the text will look like. And we can also see under here it says understood by Pinch. So this means that Pinch, our character up here, understands Elvish, and he will actually see the translation Hello World as well as this. Whereas Alindra here, who doesn't understand Elvish, will simply see this text here. So this is a way that the Dungeon Master and the players, to some extent, can communicate in a particular language without anybody else necessarily knowing what's going on. You can do this with prepared text as well. So if we have a look at this little story we've prepared earlier, normally we would just simply click this balloon as we saw in an earlier video, and the story entry would get broadcast to all the players. However, if we wanted this to go out in a language which only certain players would understand, then we would drag this down, drop it into the chat line, and then press return, and it would be broadcast in that language. And again, this is only going to be understood by Pinch. Now the chat will also take a number of what we call slash commands, and if you want to see a list of them, you type in a / and then type in help, and you'll see a list of all the commands that will be accepted into the chat frame. Most of these you probably won't use. They're for specific purposes, but they can be used to import characters, export characters, and do a lot of other things. But most of it can be done elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be done by chat command. The first one you probably want to have a look at would be clear, which will clear the chat frame of everything so that we've got it nice and pristine again, and we'll remove the language as well. So we'll talk about some of the useful slash commands that you can have. And the first one we'll look at is the die roller. So if we type in / die, and then let's put in 1d20 and then +3 just for fun, and if we press return now, it'll roll a d20 and it'll add the 3. Now if this is something that you were doing quite frequently, you might want to do something like this. Type in the expression again, 1d20 +3, and before you press return, if you drag this down and put it onto an F key here, one of the string boxes down here, then you will save that for all time, and it's simply clicking on that will do the same sort of thing, or you can press the F key. Another useful command is the GM-ID command. So if the GM didn't fancy being called the GM, if they wanted to be called something else, then / GM-ID, and then we just type in a name, and you can see here that the GM down the bottom changed to Zach. So when we now type in something, we are typing in Zach rather than as the GM. We can also change or we can add IDs by doing a /ID and typing in a name. And we'll see now that we've got two names below the chat box, and we can select either one. The one that's highlighted will be the one which we're going to talk in. So again, if we now just repeat our phrase, we see that we're now talking as Bob. So this would allow the GM to talk in various characters, possibly NPCs or other characters in your game. There's also an emote command. So if we do /emote and then type in a phrase, swings the sword at the goblin, and we see that whatever name we selected here, which in this case was Bob, swings the sword at the goblin and it's typed in red. The players can do this as well. So if you were running a text-only adventure, then this is how you would convey various bits of information backwards and forwards between the players and the GM. And we can also type in out of character information, so a /OOC and just type in whatever it is, and it shows up in green rather than to distinguish it as OOC chat. If we wanted to send a message just to a particular player or a particular character, then we can do that with a /W or whisper, and then type in the character name that you want to whisper to, and then you type in the message. And you can see here you get this little icon which shows that this is a whisper. And if Pinch wanted to reply to that message, if we look at the player screen, he can just simply type in /R and then type in his message. And you can see that Pinch has sent a message to the GM, and if we look back to the GM screen, we can see the result of that. And we can see also that Pinch's icon has popped up here to show who it is that's talking. Another useful one is the vote command, so /vote, and we can just type in a message, and we'll see that we've got a little icon which comes up here which the players can vote. Now if more than one player was actually joining my game, you would have two little icons up here. Each one would be available to vote, but because both of them are joining my game, there's only the one. But the players can then click on this and you can see that it's a tick, and they can also have a cross or a tick, whichever they want. And the last one I want to look at is the lighting command. So we type in /lighting, and then this takes an RGB hexadecimal format, so red, green, blue, and you need to know your hexadecimal for that. But let's supposing we put in FF0000, and then we will turn the screen a nice bright red. You can use that for various applications, and this is the same sort of thing as up here, except it's very limited. We'll change that back to white. But you can use the lighting command to change the lighting if you like for various scenarios. Okay, I think that's probably enough for the chat box. We'll see you again in the next video. Cheers for watching.